petty and fight over a diaper. It takes 2 seconds to do a diaper. Like some weeks when we're just like really busy, Sage is a lot, we're like, it's like, hey Rumi, do you want more kids? When is baby number 2 coming? And like, how many kids do you want? Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I have a special guest today because we are gonna be answering, by the way, if you don't know, this is Matt.
Oh, they know.
Formerly known as Mr. Matt on the internet. They know. Today's video is gonna be a juicy one because we are answering like all the questions that you guys ask all the time, and I feel like we just don't answer. Some of them not on purpose, some of them maybe we've answered and it's just been a while and we'll give like a refresh answer. But we're gonna be making banana bread while answering questions. When was the last time you baked anything?
I don't really bake, so yeah.
He just eats the stuff I bake.
I just eat it.
Yeah, so I pulled a bunch of questions that you guys asked. I probably have too many, but some of them I think are like, we'll combine into one, and we're just gonna get started. Matt has no idea what I'm gonna ask him, so it's gonna be a surprise. They're just ones I feel like we avoid. But we get asked, or I get asked a lot. First things first, we need 3 bananas mashed. I'll probably get you to let's do wet in here. Ideally your bananas would be more ripe, but this is what we got. All right, this is a good one. Thoughts on being a parent? Is it what you expected? Is it harder, easier? Like what, now that we've been parents for a good 2 years, what are your thoughts?
I didn't really have any expectations on what being a parent was like because I didn't really grow up with like younger siblings, or no one in my family had kids around me. So like growing up, I never really was around kids. So to be honest, I never really had any like preconceived ideas just because I wasn't exposed to it. Not to generalize, but I don't think most men are picturing like what it's like to be a parent that much. I mean, some are, I'm sure, but I think like most people aren't. It's not something that we talk about
amongst the guys
in the locker room or things like that. Like, you know, so it's not really something I really put much thought into.
Don't you feel like it was more so once you became a dad that like the dads kind of like pop up and they're like, hey man, how's it going? Like, welcome to the club. Like, I feel like it's just...
Once you become a dad, you have more to like talk to with other dads or parents, where you can kind of relate a bit more and it's part of your life. But prior to that, it was just not really something I had thought about.
Yeah. I think for me, I mean, you don't know. No one can really prep you for it until you're in it, because like, you could do all the babysitting, you could have the biggest family, but until you have like a human being that is under your care 24/7 and you're responsible for everything, like they're, you know, they're eating, they're sleeping, comforting them when they're sick, and like, especially when you're sick, that's really hard. You can add in the eggs if you want. I'll get you a list. I feel like they say it's the hardest to go from 0 kids to 1 kid, because you go from like it just being you to all of a sudden, you know, it's easy for me to tell Matt like, hey, I'm gonna go out, or I'm gonna just chill Netflix and chill all day today, but like you can't really just say that to your kid, you know? So for me, it was definitely an eye-opener of how much time they consume, and like, not necessarily in a bad way, just like I say they're like time suckers. Everything takes so long. Like even when Sage started solids, like from start to finish, it would be an hour to like feed her, like set it up, have her eat, clean her up. Like it was just a process, and then times that by 3, and then you're like snacks when they're 1 or whatever. Like there's some things that become easier, and then there's like new challenges that come. So I feel like, I'm surprised by like how time consuming some stuff is, and then just like how overwhelmed you can feel. But then I've also been surprised by like the overwhelming like feeling of like love and joy, and just like being in the moment more and enjoying motherhood. So, you know, it's a mix. Like I don't know if you can really know what to expect. Like everyone has their own experience.
Yeah, it's all different.
So would you say it's easier or harder?
The question was on like, is it like what we thought before? And I'm like, I didn't really have the expectations before, so it's just sort of, you know, getting used to it as you went along.
Yeah.
I didn't have the preconceived thoughts.
But you just knew like, I wanna...
But if the question was like, oh, do you like it? Or like, are you, do you enjoy being a dad? Then like, yes, very much so. But.
Okay, we can cry. Okay. Oh, I wanna ask a question. Have you always wanted to, because I've seen this been asked before, have you always wanted to be a parent, and when did you know it was the right time?
Probably when I was younger. No, I'd had zero interest in being a parent when you're like a young guy. You're like, 20s, 30s. It was more traveling around the world, wanting to go, surf and things like that, and rock climb, and, like I said, travel and see things. That was more important to me.
When did you know, sorry, just see it here.
Oh, I don't know. I think I don't know if it was
such
just
a
like,
mom. I'm like,
yeah, I don't know if it was like I'm ready for kids now, but I think it's the realization also that it's like, okay, like I'm at that point, you're like, mid to late 30s, and you're just like, oh, like I know I want kids, so yeah, I can't wait that much longer, so it seems like a good time.
It's like now or never.
Yeah, sort of, not necessarily now or never, but it was like, okay, well, like what else am I waiting for? Like we may as well, like we're in a good place financially, and we've traveled around the world and we've seen all the stuff. So it's like, sure, I'd like to do that more, but it's also like, you have to be like, okay, well, you have to find that balance. Like, okay, well, I've already done a lot for myself, so now it's
like, at what point are you like, okay, we're gonna take the plunge?
Exactly.
I think for me,
no?
yeah. So that's and I browned butter, so it makes it like.
Can I put it in?
Yeah, you can put it in. I think for me, first off, I knew I always wanted to be a mom. And now having Sage, I'm like, I feel like I was just built to be a mom. Like a lot of things, surprisingly came very natural and easy for me. Definitely challenges, don't get me wrong, but I was surprised by how much it just felt like normal to me so quickly. Like I remember when I first started breastfeeding Sage, you looked at me and you're like, you look like you just know what you're doing.
Yeah, it all came very naturally for you, I would say.
Still with challenges, but I always had, even when I was younger, in my mind that by 30 I wanted to, if I hadn't had kids before 30 was the time I wanted to start a family. And then it's like I turned 30 and I was like, I don't know if I'm ready. And it was like what you said, like I want to be financially stable, I want to be stable in my business. I also like want to work on mental health stuff for me. And that's kind of when I turned 30 is kind of when I got into like hypnosis and like meditation and just more like self-awareness and mindfulness. And that was like I'd say one of the last things on my list that I want to do before becoming a mom. Because pregnancy is a crazy journey, and like it's a lot mentally too that people don't talk about. And I always say you want to prep like you're prepping for a marathon, because you want to have like a healthy, strong body to carry and birth a child. So I always like kept that in mind, and obviously I want to have an amazing partner, which I do, and you've just been such a good daddy to Sage. So how has having a baby changed your relationship with your husband, but like
I don't know. I'd say there's more like stress than there would be before. There's like good and bad. There's good and bad, right? Like good things are we're experiencing more. We're sharing in a human experiencing like new things for the first time. So it's all very cool when you see her like now she's talking more and running around and a lot more active and vocal, and take her to dance. So like those are all cool experiences to have, which has like helped us grow. But then there's also like the moments where you're like, oh, like you're stressed out, kids screaming like for hours on end on a bad day, and you just get like stressed out and you like snap at each other quicker and easier, things like that. So it's like, but those are bad days, and you just have to kind of, take it as it is, and say sorry to each other if you're like a little grumpy or whatnot, and then just move on. Sleep
deprivation, and also just like when you both have had a long day, and your 2-year-old like will not stop crying about everything and screaming. It's so emotionally draining, and like and the last thing I have energy for is like another human being. So I think one thing that's really important is just at the end of the day, I'll always go to Matt and be like, team, like go team, and then I go team, like just to kind of if we feel overwhelmed, I sometimes just want to be like check and be like we're good, like because you can't take it personally. Like maybe I said something quick to you because I'm like, can you go get that, blah blah blah, and it's because like you're just in survival mode sometimes with toddler land, and you just can't take things too personally. And also with your kids, like I find when Sage is being very draining and overwhelming for me, I like picture a bubble, and I'm just like, it's not about me. She's going through something, and I'm just here to support her. Like, don't take things personally.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing with Sage.
Yeah, don't let like emotions like cloud judgment sometimes.
Even for us, I feel like, yeah, it's changed. Like there are some days where it's really hard and like our relationship is second in priority. It's Sage. Whether she's sick, she's having a lot of big feelings, whatever the case is, that sometimes she comes first. And like, we know our relationship's really strong, that like we can come second sometimes. And then sometimes we're like, hey, let's go on a date night. Let's do, the other week we went skiing as a date and that was a lot of fun. So we need to do more of that. How do you get things done and balance everything and also like split parental duties between each other?
I mean, I don't think we have like, it's not like we have like a chore list where things are split, where it's like, oh, that's your responsibility and that's my responsibility. I mean, is that a better...
There's unwritten
Yeah, it's like one of those things where it's like, oh, would that be good? Maybe it would be. Maybe at some point we'll get like a list where it's like, okay,
I
this
just
is what you
don't
do.
even feel like we need one right now. Maybe when Sage gets older and she has chores.
Yeah, I mean, like right now it's just like, we just work together pretty well. I mean, like I have things that I'm like obsessive about, like cleaning and putting things away, so I tend to just go around like at the end of the day and like put all our toys away and clean all that up, but it's just, for me mentally, I just don't like to see it, so I have to clean it.
I think what, I was just gonna chime in, I think what's helpful is we both like a clean place. I think when one person's like I don't like cleaning, you know, but I want the outcome of it, you know, so I think that's what's important, is like we both like at the end of the day when we're relaxing, we would be able to relax if the place was like a tornado.
Yeah. So like when we had Sage 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it was harder to get things done. I mean, there's a lot of sort of like divide and conquer at the beginning where it's like, okay, well, Sage is, you know, feeding, so Nicole's busy with her, so like I'll go off and I'll get clean some stuff or do whatever, just so it's like, okay, I'm not just sitting around doing nothing. A lot of times it's like we had, when she was home all the time, we tried to divide our work up a bit. We'd be like, okay, like, well, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, like, you know, you have Sage for that day, and I'll do like my work those days, and then you'll get the other 2 days, and then a weekend we'll kind of figure it out. Now that she's in like a daycare where she's like 9 to
which
9
we'll
to
talk
4.
about because that's a whole other question.
Yeah, but now that she's actually like, you know, with other kids and actually with someone, it's like we have the day to ourselves to actually be like, okay, like we can actually both just work and get stuff done. And if we need to clean around the house, we can do it then. So it's a lot easier now, but those first years, it was tougher. Like, you know, there was like definitely lots of times where it'd be like, one of us would feel like we weren't able to get our work done, and then sometimes that adds stress onto your mind that you're like, I'm not able to.
Everyone always feels like they're doing more than the other. I feel like that's just a common thing.
You're like, I feel like I'm cleaning more, and you're like, you feel like you're doing this more, and it's like, you know, those things happen. Once you get through it and out to the other side, I think now it's just a lot easier to divide.
You do what you gotta do during that time, and I think like you both just need to, you know, try to split it 50-50 as much as you can. Yeah. When we did have Sage full time with us, I forgot that we did like, we'd have certain days dedicated, like you'd get work done, and then eventually it would be like, okay, well, I need to do a little bit of work each day, so we would then split the day. Like you would have Sage in the morning up until nap time, and then I would have her in the afternoon. So that's a way too, if both of you work from home, or like everyone's situation's so different. Both Matt and I work from home, so, and we both work for ourselves. So that is so different than if someone is like leaving to go to an office and all that. The other thing I was gonna mention is people ask too specifically about like parenting duties. And I know what questions are asking is like, who does more diapers? Who does the naps? Who does the feeding and stuff? So like, I could probably just address that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Diaper changes, I feel like we've never really been like, maybe in the beginning we joke sometimes like, okay, I already did 3 diapers today. You know, Sage doesn't have that many diapers now. She's, you know, now that she's 2, but like, it's like, don't be petty and fight over a diaper. It takes 2 seconds to do a diaper. If like, you know, it's really not that big of a deal. And you know, if she has a pee diaper, you're so good with changing diapers. Matt probably does
more. I probably do more.
You probably do. And it's like, yeah, but I'm also breastfeeding her. And like, it's not a game. I always say it's not a game of like who's doing more. It's just like doing your part, you know? And it's like, I'm well aware that Matt probably changes more diapers than me, and like that's okay. It doesn't have to be like I changed 2 and you did 2, so we're even today, you know? I also do most of the cooking. Matt usually does the dishes after I'm done cooking. He unloads the dishwasher in the morning. I'm usually the one that like organizes the house. We also recently just got a cleaner that comes every 2 weeks. We never had a cleaner before. It's been amazing. I know it's not available to everybody. I never had a cleaner growing up.
No.
But it's been helpful. But honestly, even having a cleaner, if you don't, once she's gone,
Oh, she cleans it like 2 days later.
it's like it get messy again, right?
Yeah.
It's like she does like the deep cleaning stuff that I feel like we can't always get to. And then it's still work to keep things tidy. But like with Sage, like we usually on the weekends or if she's home from daycare, we'll always split up naps. Matt usually does the lunchtime, afternoon nap, and then I will do bedtime.
Yeah.
That's how we split that up. And then meals, you know, sometimes I'll have food prepped in the fridge and then Matt will just heat it up. Usually do breakfast. I usually feel like I do dinner.
Yeah.
But it's also like...
Yeah. There's no like written rule. It's like, yeah, a lot of times I would do breakfast just because you were getting ready still because you woke up later. You know, now that you're getting up earlier, you're a bit more free in the morning. But in general, normally, yeah. And then dinner, and that's sort of a free for all. I mean, like usually because like now that because Sage is, you know, at a daycare, it's like by the time we pick her up and she's home, it's like we only have 2 or 3 hours that she's with us before she goes to bed. So we're both sort of pretty like usually with dinner time, it's like we're usually
both involved.
We'll both be kind of involved because it's like we're hanging like either I'm hanging out with her and playing with her when Nikole gets ready, and then once the dinner's on the table for her, usually we'll both kind of like sit around, or Nikole might sit there and I might tidy up the mess. No, it just depends. Every day's different.
But I know a lot of people ask about that, so I just wanted to touch on that. Okay, someone asked me, how do you manage your life between being a wife, a mom, a working mom? I'll answer this quickly. I feel like it's all about setting boundaries, and this is something I've really focused on this year and has made such a difference. I now set boundaries around my work. I don't check my emails on evenings and weekends. That way I can be really present with Sage, especially because she is in daycare. During the day, when she's home, in the morning, in the evenings, and on the weekends, like I want that to be with my family and I want to be present. In terms of like our relationship, that's usually, you know, once Sage goes down for bed, you know, or early in the morning.
Dinner together, watch a movie together.
Yeah, we are together. We are,
you know?
I feel like we're getting better at not having the TV on all the time, actually just sitting and talking. You can be with someone all day in a house and not connect. And that happens sometimes. We feel like, and I'll just say it, like sometimes it feels like we're roommates. Like some weeks when we're just like really busy, Sage is a lot, we're like, it's like, hey roomie, you know? And then other weeks it's like, you're like, oh, let's start the day. Yeah. So that's true. And that's normal. There's like gonna be, you know.
Ebbs and flows.
Yes, that's the word I was looking for.
Should I add this? Can I add this?
So that's vanilla. Yeah, you can start adding.
What about the vinegar? Is that going last or can I go in?
No, you can add in both of those, that's fine. Okay, so this question got asked a lot. Is Sage going to daycare? Do you have any help? Do you have a nanny?
I think we answered that,
okay, but let's start from the beginning. We, surprisingly to a lot of people, they thought like we had like a nighttime nurse and like all this help. We, especially during having a child during the pandemic, we did not have, we didn't really have any help. And we had family pop in here and there, but like it was really
just us
two.
Yeah, it was.
Especially having her during the winter time. And everyone felt nervous being around her and stuff. So it was just like a very isolating time. On the plus side, it was very like bonding for the three of us, I think, to have that time. In terms of childcare, we didn't get our first nanny until she was almost
close to a year or something?
No.
Was it
younger? You have bad memory. No. It was like 5 months, I remember, because we had just finished sleep training. We were like in midst of sleep training. And I feel like we had her for 2 months? She was actually pregnant.
If that.
Yeah, so she was actually pregnant and we were like, perfect. We can just like do a trial run, see like what it's like to have a nanny, especially because we're both home. What does that like to have this like third person in your household with you in a very like intimate thing with like taking care of a newborn? And I was breastfeeding. It was just very intimate. So we trialed it out. It was great.
Then and then she was pregnant. She left. We went to Florida for a couple of weeks.
Didn't have
anyone.
Didn't have anyone. When we came back, we knew it was really helpful when we had a nanny. We got another nanny who was so amazing, and we had her for a few months, and then we left.
We moved back to Florida.
Then we moved back to Florida for the winter, And she actually ended up having a baby this year, or end of last year. And then when we moved into this house last summer, we had an amazing nanny who was like honestly like a teacher to Sage. And unfortunately, she had to go back to Ottawa for school in September, and she thought she was going to do like online learning, and then things went back in person. So unfortunately we lost her, and we miss her so much. She just became like a part of the family. And then we decided, we went to Portugal. When we came back, we decided, okay, we're gonna bite the bullet. Different. And like also Sage, like we just knew she loved to be social, and we knew like she'd probably benefit from like more of a daycare setting. And we found this wonderful private like home daycare, and it's like a small group of kids, and like Sage, it's like her happy place. She is, if you're debating on putting your kids in daycare, I know it's scary, like the germs, I'm a germaphobe, and I was like, oh my God, we're all gonna be sick all the time. It has been the best thing, and it has given something to Sage that we could just never give her. She listens more, she shares, she's so social. If we're out in public, she'll go say hi to another kid. It's been good for us too, I think, as pandemic parents, to be able to like have a bit of separation.
Yeah, it's been good. Because
she was with us like all the time, and then also it was just nice to like, sounds bad, but like not have her in the house. So we could like actually focus on work. And then when she's done, which she's only there from like 8:30 to 4, and when she's done, you know, we are like on Sage. We're focused on Sage, and it's not like trying to do emails and, you know, so that is our journey. Because I haven't really talked about it much, because like people like to, I don't know, I guess I felt like there was gonna be judgment on it. Like, newsflash, I work a full-time job. So to expect to like be, you know, this amazing full-time mom and have this business and all at once, like that's unrealistic. And when I was doing that, I didn't feel my greatest. And now I feel way better as a mom. And
yeah, I mean, she's also 2 years old now, so it's like she needs to be out and like socializing with kids and like learning skills that like she's not just gonna get by staying home with us all the time. So yeah, it makes sense to progress. It's a natural progression for kids, I think.
Is Matt doing YouTube again?
Yeah, so I definitely dropped the ball with YouTube and stuff. When we went to Florida, we were moving around a lot, and for me, because I was still pretty new to doing like the YouTube for my own stuff, it just became hard to do it, to keep up with it when we were just like in a new place, and then we didn't have daycare or help a good chunk of the time. So
in order for me to get work done,
in order
like,
for you to be,
we call Matt Nanny Matt, and I'd be like, Matt, because I have with my work, I have like deadlines and stuff, exactly. and so it's harder. I'd be like, I need to get this done today, and so like Matt would be on Sage duty.
Yeah, I was helping more Sage because Nikole obviously had obligations and stuff. So now that like we're here and we have help, I'm actually back doing, you know, mostly like short form videos right now, like TikTok and Instagram. Still focusing mostly on our Airbnb business, trying to help people learn how to create financial independence by getting a better understanding of, you know, all sorts of different financial stuff. I've shifted mostly to like real estate and Airbnb just because I feel like that's the best avenue for people to really become wealthy. So I'm definitely back doing it more consistently and looking to grow that more. You know, if you guys want to, you know, follow along on the journey, you can probably find my socials downstairs.
Downstairs?
You can probably find my socials down in the description box. Yeah, like I started to realize, when I first got into real estate investing and doing that stuff, initially my goal was like, I wanted to teach people how to become financially free and independent because, you know, we grew up pretty modestly. My parents never really had a lot of money. So, you know, I was sort of inspired by that to want to help my family in that and then help other people. And then I just sort of started to realize more this year that I didn't really do that as much as I thought I did when I was younger and more interested in wanting to help people. I feel like I deviated and kind of just focused on us and our stuff and buying real estate for us and building our wealth. And I feel like now that we're at a point where it's like, we're good, it kind of made me realize like, I really want to get back to that initial, you know, motivation of helping people and inspiring people to get out of the 9-to-5 grind. Because I just know when I was working my jobs with people, it just didn't really resonate with me. I was never really happy working for other people. And I know there's a lot of people out there who feel that way and think the same. So, you know, my goal with my content is to like try to help inspire people to find their path to get them out of working for other people. Because I think like now that we live a life where, you know, we both work from home, we both own our time, we can do what we want when we want, it's like you realize how powerful that is, how impactful it is, the ability to, you know, spend more time with family and spend time with Sage. So I just see the value in it so much that if I can help other people to achieve that, that's sort of what my goals are for the coming years.
But yeah, his content's so good, and he's gonna be sharing some more like real life content and whatnot, and yeah, how to get into like investment stuff if that's what you're interested in.
Yeah.
People also asked if like what our educational background is, so that might be a good segue.
Oh, I was like a certified financial planner, so I got all my designations for that to be able to help people plan for retirement. That was originally how I thought I was going to help people achieve independence, was through the mainstream way of banks and doing that. After working for the big banks, I came to realize that the system's not really designed to help people to achieve financial independence. It's more about wanting people to work, pay money into the system, and do that until you die, which isn't really how I want to live my life, or a lot of people don't want to. So I kind of realized that wasn't the path for me. So, but I did do my financial like planner designation. I had a mortgage broker designation and also a real estate license. I never really sold real estate, but I did it mostly for educational purposes for myself, to make myself a better investor. So.
And you also have worked in the financial
Oh yeah, I've worked in the financial
for-
industry for like 15 years, managing people's money, doing all that fun stuff.
He's been a bank manager.
Yeah, and then you did.
Oh, and then I went, and mine's boring. I went to school for business marketing and then became a YouTuber.
There you go. So,
Okay, I gotta add chocolate chips. How often do you work out, and how do you find energy to like, you know, do all the things that we need to do, whether it's like personal stuff, parenting, work, like how do you find the energy to do it? Because obviously I feel like that's something a lot of people struggle with.
yeah, I mean, for myself, I try to work out 4 to 5 days a week. I just found that in the long stretches of time, like with, you know, the COVID and the lockdown and all that other stuff that went on, I felt like in those long stretches of time where like you couldn't really work out, I just felt my lowest, like no energy. I didn't feel good. Just didn't feel inspired to do much, you know. So it's just the realization that like, oh, working out will give you more energy, even though it seems counterintuitive. Like some people think, oh, if I work out, it'll take energy. It's like, no, like when you work out and eat good and, you know, do those things, it's actually going to give you more energy to help you get through the day and do more things. So
isn't it funny when you think that like I don't have energy to do anything else, but when you actually like do those extra things, you
get more energy.
I always find that so crazy because you don't know until you do it, and you're like, I worked out 3 times this week and I had more energy than last week when I was so tired.
Yeah, so I mean, like finding the time. I mean, everyone has different schedules and different things in life, but I would say everyone has the time to do some form of workout or exercise. I mean, whether it's cutting out some Netflix time or cutting out, you know, like getting up earlier, setting your clock half hour earlier, whatever you need to do. I think everyone can spare half hour to work out, and I think it's going to benefit your life in the whole. And like, as you do more, like you'll realize you want to find more time to do it.
Time and health are like the most valuable things in my opinion. That's like why I work out, is to be healthy.
Yeah. Also, like depending on the gym that you have, it's like a lot of gyms will have like a daycare. There's been like, I know like some of the gyms will have a daycare, or across the gym we can bring Sage to, and they have
for
like,
free. You
toys
just
and
bring them
stuff
with
to play.
you.
You just bring them. Like, I mean, you're still watching them, but there are gyms like Good Life used to have like actual like in-house like daycare where you could leave them there for an hour and go do your workout.
The amount of times I get asked, and I try not to take offense. Yeah, I try not to like take offense to it because it can be like a sensitive thing to ask someone. And that is like everyone's asking, like, you know, do you want more kids? When is baby number 2 coming? And like, how many kids do you want?
Oh, yes, we both want more kids. I'll be honest, there's days when Sage is really a lot of work that you think, oh, maybe not right now. But yes, we definitely do want more kids. So I mean, baby number 2 to be to be continued, to be decided, I guess. I don't know what I'm doing here.
When did you know you wanted more than one?
Well, I think like we knew, when we were talking about kids, we both knew we wanted, like I come from a family of 3, like I have 2 brothers, Nicole's got 4 siblings, so we both come from a family with brothers and sisters, and we knew we wanted to have that for Sage as well. So I think it was always in the cards. But like I said, I'll be honest, there's definitely days, especially right now, because Sage is sleeping through the night, like 12 hours of sleep. You know, we got a pretty decent routine that you think like, oh,
why disturb this now?
Why ruin a good thing? Because you're like, oh, we're gonna now throw it at a kid where you're like, okay, so now we're resetting the clock for another, 3 years, including the pregnancy time. But you're like, oh, once the newborn comes out, you're like, well, now it's another 2 years of.
There goes your sleep.
Yeah, it's another 2 years, and then like you hear people say like, oh, it's difficult when you have 2 because now you've got to take care of not only the.
Each of you always has a kid. It's not it's not like Matt, you take Sage and like I'm kid free. It's like you both have a kid, or one person is like double fisting.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think like we'll probably look to have a second sooner than later, just because we're also like getting older. So.
Speak for yourself. I'm the younger one. I also feel like, okay, tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like after I had Sage, you were so quick to be like, hey, like baby number 2, and I don't know if it's because you just want to like
well, it's also because like
out.
well, it's all it seemed like it would be, and I mean, it could be naive, but it seemed like it would be easier to have 2 quickly. That way, it's like instead of it being like 2 years of craziness, and then you have another one, then it's another 2 years. It's sort of like if you had them both within a shorter period of time, then it's like then you've got like your 3 years of craziness, but instead of being like 2 and then 2, it's like sort of like 2 plus like the carryover from the second kid. So it seemed like it would have been a little bit easier to do it that way. Like you would just commit that couple of years to being like it's gonna be a tough few years. But yeah. I think like I knew once you get into a good routine where you're like, oh, like life's pretty good, we have a routine, like we know what we're doing. I knew it would be more difficult to be like, okay, well now let's go and mess that all up again by throwing another one in the mix. Like I think like to do that, I think definitely like to have another one, we'll have to be a little bit better at determining like what kind of care we need to have and help we need to have to be able to like continue to like run. How
many kids do you want? I feel like we say different answers to this.
I don't know. It ranges between like 2 to 3.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't, like if I had 2, I wouldn't feel like unfulfilled. If I had more than 2, I would be.
I feel like I feel like I definitely want Sage to have a sibling, because I'm just like, we've both experienced that, and like my siblings are like my forever best friends.
Yeah, you guys are very close.
All right, that's it for today's video. Banana bread is in the oven. Thanks for hanging out with us and asking us all the juicy
good questions
that I feel like we haven't answered in a while or at all. Also, don't forget to follow Matt. I'll have his links down below. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. Guys.